Hello and welcome to a new episode of Smart Money. Now, early retirement is a dream for every corporate employee. Most young people in their late 20s or early 30s think that they have come up with the perfect financial plan. You work till 40, you save enough money and retire rich. But is it that easy? And what do you do with your time post-retirement? Today, my guest is Karan Datta. He joins me here in the studio. He's the former Chief Business Officer at Axis Mutual Fund. And, Karan has, of course, been with Axis. He was with Axis Mutual Fund. He retired 5 years ago from Axis Mutual Fund. He's been with the company for over 10 years and has over 2 decades of experience in the financial industry. Karan, thanks a lot for joining in.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
The title of our show is How I Retired with a 15 Crore Corpus, right?
Yes.
So I'm sure a lot of people want to know how do you build your corpus in such a way that you can retire early. But before that, do you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you decided after a very long corporate journey to take this plunge of early retirement?
Thanks a lot, Sonia, first for having me on the show, Smart Money. I've been thinking about this for a while, and I guess money is important, but there's also another ingredient when it comes to early retirement, which is courage. Because you're actually giving up a lot. You're giving up social status, you're giving up a designation, etc. And then there is also the opportunity loss, which is about salary and bonus. So you have the courage component takes the prime aspect out here. Financials are supremely critical because if the two come together, then it's a perfect combination. And then you can aspire and dream to do something which you truly came on planet Earth for. And to answer what you came on planet Earth for just does take a little bit of time. I realize I came on this planet to play and not to work.
Okay. And you are you're training to be a professional sprinter now.
That's true. I want to be a professional sprinter, and there's something known as Masters Athletics, which allows people at my age group, 50 to 55, 55 to 60, in that age group, every 5 years it changes, but it allows us to play professionally. So we can start by playing for our state, and if we're good enough, then I can play for the country. And if I'm really good, I could play internationally. So I want to sprint for India. Okay,
I'm so happy that you found your passion, right?
Yes.
Because a lot of us spend our entire lives working.
That's
and
true.
Then when the time comes for retirement, we don't know what to do with our time. So that is, I think, the big problem. But let's start with how you built this 15 crore corpus over the last 2 decades. Tell us a little bit about that. And, what were the different assets that you got into?
Right.
And, how you're also looking at post-retirement spending.
Right. You really picked the right question, because financial freedom is what it is all about. And if you're not financially free, then doing this does become a bit tough. So I must start with the fact that, Sonia, I come from the business of mutual funds and managing money. So my early training days has been all about long-term investing. That's what I'm trained to do and think. So very lucky that way. And what I realized is that my first SIP started with a 2,000 rupee per month kind of story, and then it never stopped. I just continued investing till my last SIP, which was when I was working at Axis. So it almost became like a 2-decade story. But then what happened is that every 5 years the salaries would increase, so would the SIP amount, the bonuses would increase, and so would the allocation to equity funds. And then finally, the whole component became important also because there were stock options that came and kicked in at Axis. So the whole component, all the 3 pieces put together, then resulted in this corpus coming up.
So you started with a 2,000 rupee SIP per month?
Yes, in equity funds.
When you just started out your career, and you ended with 3 lakhs per month?
Roughly, right, yes, 3 lakhs. That journey of 2,000 to 3 lakhs pretty much sums up the compounding effect in salary and what it can do for you.
And did you invest all of this in, say, passive funds, or were you largely invested in active?
Okay, so here are 2 things that I'm deeply passionate about. One, I really believe that active fund managers will continue to outperform in India. That's one deep belief I have. I also do work with my advisory team, like I work with the financial advisory team. I do also believe that advice plays a very vital role. It's not as if I can't pick up the best performing fund. The role of a good advisor is to avoid making mistakes. And that's where I count on them to kind of help me out.
Absolutely. As I say, not screwing up in your portfolio is better than taking the right decisions, right?
It's, this is another thing, Sonia, I realized after spending time here. It's not about maximizing returns. It's about kind of just controlling risks, because you've got to be in the 1% that stays put when everything will fall apart. And I'm not being pessimistic out here. I'm just being very real, because it's a 30-year journey. It's not a short journey.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about this. So you said that you do a lot of active mutual funds. This 15 crore corpus that you have, is it does it include any of your fixed assets, any of your your house, or maybe the children's education? Tell us a little bit about that. Or is it X of everything?
I'm glad you asked this question, Sonia, because many times, and this is after speaking to my friends and relatives, I realized that per se, a lot of families are asset rich but cash poor, because so much of investments have gone into multiple real estate, etc. So very consciously, I decided not to look at real estate as part of the investment corpus, because real estate for me is a home that one stays in, and so the home is where I stay in, so that's my home. It's not added in my net worth. So this amount is purely about investments that have been made in capital markets, mutual funds, and
so the home that you stay in, your real estate assets are all separate?
Is not counted in this.
Okay, okay. And is a large chunk of your money ESOPs? If you want to, tell us that out of the 15 crore corpus, how much comes from ESOPs? Because a lot of salaried employees don't get an opportunity to get ESOPs as well. So how do you structure your SIPs in that case? So
here's the thing. You're absolutely right, because sometimes you do get the ESOPs, but they don't work out. I mean, there are multiple examples of stock options that have really not worked, both in India and abroad. So to that extent, I do consider myself very lucky that in this case it worked out, and worked out pretty well. I would think if you look at the entire amount, close to 60% could still come by way of salary and bonus if invested well.
Okay.
Because remember, it's over 2 decades. Like, people starting out now at 24, 25, they have a 30-year journey by the time they reach 45, 50. So they have all the runway in the world. And my appeal to them would be, if invested well, this could really be the retirement corpus. And they don't even need to worry about
ESOPs and everything. No. Okay, so let's talk about that, right? How do you structure investment? You spoke about 25, 26-year-olds who start off their journey. If you want to get both regular income and meet your financial goals post-retirement, what is the best way to structure your investments? So
when I was working, I was not allowed to invest in direct stock, regulatorily. So mutual funds were the vehicle for me, and that really worked out well. And my appeal to everyone watching the show is, please do look at funds, because that's such a fantastic vehicle. And by the way, now, Sonia, now we have track records of at least 6 to 7 fund houses across 15, 16 schemes with a 25-year track record. And each of them are up anything between 150 to 200 times on an average. Just shows, what mutual funds can do for you. Up 150 times average. And some of them are up like 200 times. So my single biggest message to everyone would be, start now, and don't worry about the amount. The amount in this case is immaterial, because as salaries go up, the 2,000 will become 3 will become 15, 15,000 will become 30,000, and so on and so forth. It's the discipline of starting today.
So since you have been in this industry for so long, which are the 3 or 4 active mutual funds right now where you think people can invest into, or youngsters should invest into for the long horizon?
So just to give you an idea, today my corpus is structured in a way that 70% of it is in equity funds, and 30% is in fixed income. So it's a very natural balance of 70-30. And remember, it's just supremely simple. It's not complicated. I don't have anything else barring some funds, a PMS, and a couple of guild funds. And it's exactly the same structure that I'd recommend to anyone starting out. Keep it simple. Keep it at 70-30. You could either do it through a balanced advantage fund, or you could do it separately. But a 70-30 works wonderfully well, because it adjusts for markets and it adjusts for volatility.
And what are the top funds that you own? I mean, the names, if you want to share some of them.
So this is where I leave everything to my
investment advisor. Okay.
And I must tell you the rule on that. I can have multiple views on it, but finally it's their decision because I trust them. So in my funds, I obviously have access in my list of funds. I have Canara Robeco.
Okay.
I have a few HSBC funds. I do have HDFC. I have Nippon's funds, Kotak. So about 5 or 6 fund houses. And Kotak is Guilds.
Okay.
So that's how it is structured.
So you think on an average, one should not have more than 6-7 funds in your portfolio?
Absolutely not. Because, see, remember, if you overdo it, then you're actually buying the same stocks replicated through other funds. And that doesn't make sense. Rather have 5 or 6 good schemes. And remember, this is not about choosing the best performing scheme. This is about what fits your investment profile.
Okay.
And that's how it's structured.
Okay, many more questions for you, but we have to take a short commercial break. I also want to talk about the fact that with money buys you time, right?
Yes.
So after retirement, what do you do with your time? So more on that coming up on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere.